God'll get you for that one.
Maude is owned by Shout Factory.
God'll Get You for That, Walter is produced for entertainment purposes only.
Sponsored in part by Findlays Friendly Appliances. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of God'll Get You for That, Walter.
And he does, albeit silently.
It was pantomime.
Yes,
It was pantomime.
Pantomime.
Welcome to God'll Get You for That, Walter, a podcast where we discuss the 1970s hit sitcom, Maude. My name is Tom Catt, and I am joined by the Duchess of Homeperm.
The Countess of the Coiffure.
I am joined by the fabulous Toni Homeperm, and today we are going over it's season 2, episode 24, The Runaway.
Our episode 48.
Our episode 48, yeah.
Yes.
It was directed by Hal Cooper, written by Norman Lear, Bud Grossman, and Alan J. Levitt, and it aired March 5th, 1974. Mm-hmm. And it has guest stars Juan DeCarlos as Mr. Potter, Temu Blackwell returns as Francie Potter, and Ralph Wilcox, special guest, is Hinckley.
Hinkley.
Very one-note character, if you ask me.
Yes.
But I wish that they brought back Temu for more episodes, because I think this was her last.
That was it.
It was just those. It was just those 2 episodes.
Oh well.
Very sad. But what'd you think of it?
It was a good episode. It was good.
I enjoyed it.
Much better than Philip's Problem.
Yeah, Philip's Problem was a little bit much.
Yeah. I really feel like they knew they had, 24 episodes that had to be made.
Yes, to those unaware, this is the season 2 closer.
Season 2, the last episode of season 2.
Yep.
And I really feel like they just knew they had, the last episode was almost like filler. Like, we have to, we need something to film. What can we do?
Film, what can we do?
And they just, that was about
I mean,
the best
also
they could
March Madness, I'm sure Sweeps Week was still a thing in the 70s.
So, but, they needed to make something. That's what they made.
Yep.
And I do feel like they saved a good episode for the last one.
Yes, this really was a good episode.
It was a good episode. We laughed.
There were laughs. There were definite laughs.
So we open. Maude is on the phone.
In an outfit that I really want.
Well, of course.
A lot of cleavage showing from being this episode. I was very surprised.
She's on the phone with Arthur.
Yep, complaining that, Arthur's going to make them late.
Yes.
Because they're going to the theater that night.
Right, and she was mentioning that she didn't want to hear about... what was it making them late? They were getting frisky.
They were getting amorous. They were making love.
She should have never told Vivian to put the vitamin E on the artichokes.
Stop sprinkling vitamin E on your artichokes.
Yes.
I hate that I gave you that idea.
Yes. So she's quite mad at Arthur because she's blaming him that they're going to be late for this event that they're going to. I believe it was a theater, a benefit, something.
Some type of benefit. Some theatrical benefit.
Some sort of, white middle class, thing that they were going to be going to.
It was a thing. And but I mean, when Maude and Walter were arguing, they rattled off some very, very famous vaudevillian theatrical names.
Yes. I didn't get.
The only one I got was Poopy Campo.
Poopy Campo. Okay. And Arlene Dahl. Was that one?
Arlene Dahl was another one that I heard.
Yes. Actress from,
many moons ago.
Yes.
Many moons ago.
So we hear Walter yelling. He needs his suspenders. He can't find his suspenders.
And Maude calls back to him. You're not driving, so you can hold your pants.
That's right. So she ends up hanging up with Walter, I believe.
Arthur.
Oh, with Arthur.
Ends up hanging up
she hangs up on
saying,
Arthur.
Get here as fast as you can. Yes.
Because
she wants to see all the celebrities.
Yes. So Walter comes downstairs. He's still asking her where's his suspenders because he's blaming her. He says she puts things
where he can't
find them.
Isn't that just like a man to say that?
Absolutely. My husband can't find anything.
You hide it on him.
Absolutely.
On purpose.
Of course.
Of course you do.
If it's anything like it's in the refrigerator, he can't find it.
Yep.
He just can't find it.
Because you make life that much difficult for him.
Absolutely. It gives me it tickles me, pussy. It really does. So Maude tells him that, she says, oh, they're hanging off the roof.
They're hanging on the roof.
And what was her reasoning? So she can do the
So she can clean the windows and the second story area of the house.
Right. That's why she has them hanging.
That's why she has them hanging off
the roof. And she's complaining that they're gonna be late. Yes, because it was the panel of What's My Line.
The entire panel of What's My Line.
Yes. And I believe that's when they cut to outside.
Yes, they cut to the front door, and it's Francie Potter.
And with a young man.
With a young man named Hinckley.
Who we find out is named Hinckley.
Yeah.
And they're
trying to
pull a
hustle on Maude.
Yes. And Francie's nervous about it because she says, it's not going to be easy
to out-talk Maude Findlay. She's the world's champ.
Yeah, she's got a bigger mouth than Muhammad Ali.
That was funny.
Yes.
I appreciated that.
And she didn't really like lying to Maude. And Hinckley's telling her, you gotta, sell her, you give her the sob story.
Yeah, why gamble on the truth when you got a good, honest lie?
That's right, absolutely. So I believe Hinckley goes to hide in the bushes.
Yep, with a very, very sparkly guitar.
Yes.
That was quite the prop.
Yes. I love. He had it was sort of like a
jumpsuit, a denim jumpsuit. Very 70s.
I had a denim
Of course you did.
I had a denim jumpsuit.
Hey, listen, I love a good jumpsuit.
And it was flares.
Of course it was. I mean, that was the outfit that I made
and I wore them with my Earth shoes. That's what you did. You wore them with the Earth shoes.
You wore them with the Earth shoes. Or platforms.
Yeah. Yes, you could wear platforms. I never had platforms.
Really?
I was too young.
Well, now you're old and you can wear them all the time.
Now I wear them all the time. They have a stiletto heel.
Of course they do.
Yes. Funny story.
Uh-oh.
Because at Saturday night, as you know, but our listeners may not know, I did a
Yes, there was a benefit. You did a cabaret for the Long Island Gay Men's Chorus.
Right. So it was me and some of our drag family. Madison Mansfield, Alexis Flame, Bell, Roger Moore. And the boys from the Long Island Gay Men's Chorus.
And the boys in the band.
So at one point, I was doing a little banter talking with Alexis.
Of course you were.
And, she went off, and I was about to get off. And, because they were using the wired mics, my, dress and foot got caught in, the wire. And I had no choice but to I take my foot out of the shoe. And, and then I was just like... well, I had a long gown on, so it wasn't like you even saw. But it's like something goes awry when you're a professional. You don't let it trip you up.
Never.
I said, okay, I've got a bit I can do here. I said, there goes my shoe. I said, now I have no choice. I have to take the other one off now. And and then of course by that point. I'm down about
down about a foot,
half a foot at least. And I said, you see how short I am now. I said without the wig, I said I'm like one of the little people from the Wizard of Oz.
Oh my God!
Well,
we represent the Munchkins.
Yes,
we represent the Lollipop Guild.
Everybody laughed. Everybody laughed. So but that's what you do. Life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. You lose your shoe on stage, make a joke out of it.
Make a joke about it.
And that's what I did.
The best thing you could do as a drag entertainer is read yourself.
Oh yeah, nobody ever objects.
No one will object.
No one ever objects.
Some queens will actually encourage that behavior.
Yes. I encourage you to do it constantly.
Every single day.
Every day of my life.
Literally, if that were me, I would have been like, this is my mother, the amazing shrinking woman.
You would have been dead on.
Yeah, I would have. I really would have.
So Francie rings the bell.
Here goes our future, she says.
Yes. She rings the bell.
Rings the bell, and Maude obviously is like, well, finally, it's about time.
Yeah.
So she opens the door, and she's agog. It's Francie Potter.
Francie, who's crying.
She sobs uncontrollably, obviously laying it on
super thick. Real thick.
So we come
and Maude is just like, is something wrong?
That's our Maude.
And Francie starts laying it on really thick, that she's, just a poor black girl who's walked all the way from the ghetto.
35 miles from the ghetto.
Right, exactly.
From the ghetto. we're on our way to.
Yes.
So of course, Maude is insisting we're on our way to the theater, so I can't be bothered with this yet. So what? Just she's trying to get to the bottom of what's going on because she's obviously late for the theater.
Yeah, and she's like, we'll talk when we get back. We're going to the theater.
Yep.
And
Francie continues to lay it on thick, saying that her dad beats her, that he's an alcoholic.
And Maude brought up, is it gang trouble? Is there going to be a ramble?
Is there going to be a ramble tonight?
A ramble. And she's like,
switch knife.
Yeah, they're going to use
a switch knife on her.
Yeah, yes.
And one of the ongoing jokes is that, Francie says, Maude will say she's 16 years old, and Francie will come back almost 17.
Yes.
So, you are 16 going on.
Yes. And so Francie tells them that her father was beating her.
Yeah.
And so Maude says she's trying to
deduce what's going on.
Yes,
and why.
But she's trying to be like hip.
She's trying to talk in African American vernacular English,
she's saying, "Did he go upside your head?" And so Francie's just like, "Let me just put it in white people talk."
Yep. I mean, also, not for anything, there's a lot of disparity when it comes to using African American vernacular English, because some white people take a little advantage and they try to speak in that specific way, and it's a microaggression. If a white person is using AAVE, it's a microaggression, and there are some people that are just like, please don't use those words.
Yes.
And years ago it used to be called Ebonics. Now it's African American vernacular English.
Okay, I didn't even know that.
Yep.
I didn't even know
the more you know.
I didn't even know Ebonics was still a thing.
It evolved.
It evolved. Okay.
And I mean, sometimes you'll see it. Sometimes you'll see white queens use. I'm specifically speaking about white drag queens. There are some white drag queens that will use that as their way of speaking.
Yes.
And it sometimes can get a little aggressive. Yes. Like I've seen a lot.
Now, is that considered cultural appropriation?
To a degree, yes.
Okay.
To a degree, yes.
Because I've also seen, and I'm sure you've seen it, when a white drag queen says she wants to wear box braids, or really, when anybody
white person wants to wear box braids,
and I've seen personally, I would never wear box braids. It's not me.
Not a style that I'm into.
But I've seen like so many like things about it going back and forth, like people saying that it's cultural appropriation. You can't wear box braids, and then I've seen people saying, well. The
Vikings did it.
They
the
wore
Vikings
box
did it. They also
and,
wore box braids.
But you're not really trying to be a Viking. You're trying to emulate, African American culture. You're not trying to emulate. I mean, if you want to wear blonde box braids, if you're putting on the helmet with the horns, which Longenhood, as Rose would put it. Then maybe it's okay. And you're performing the rings of the Nibelungen. Go to hole. Then I guess it would be okay.
Oh my God.
Then I guess it would be okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Right?
You're right.
I'm assuming.
It becomes
slippery slope.
It becomes a very slippery slope.
Slippery slope.
There's always going to be someone that will say it's this and someone saying that it's that. And, this is why I believe in communism. I know what I know. I'm a communist.
Yes. But I've seen even people saying, if you, like on Facebook, if you use a GIF that's a black person.
Yeah, if you use a GIF of a black person, it's almost like minstrelling.
They're saying it's like, it's like black.
It's appropriative. Yeah. And it's just what is a microaggression and what isn't a microaggression. And, it is not up to us as two very chicken cutlet queens to make that it's not up to us to determine what is and isn't a microaggression. It's up to the community that is being oppressed that is up to determine what is a microaggression.
But on the other hand, then I say, well, if you try to... If then what do you do? Then do you eliminate everything? Then are we whitewashing things? I'm like, I don't know what's...
It's a very interesting conversation that will be ongoing for the rest of our days.
Right?
it's going to be going on for the rest of our days. Because, I mean, you know, it's always funny. This is something that's, like, stuck out in my mind. There were a lot of people years ago that would say, oh, you have a very thick Brooklyn accent. And I would say, well, yes, I'm from Brooklyn. And years ago, it was Italians that had, you know, the really thick Brooklyn accent where they would talk like this.
Yes.
And, you know, it evolved from being the way Italians talk to now how Black people talk, and how, like, it really became bizarre to me, and I'm like, I've always spoken that way. That's just how I speak sometimes, especially if I'm incredibly pissed off at somebody. But it's an evolution that will. American English is constantly evolving. Every single, I mean, even in foreign countries, every single household will have their own way of talking and their own way of speaking. So it's interesting. It's interesting to see the evolution of American English.
It is.
In all its forms.
It is. All right, so back to Maude.
Talk white people to you.
Yes.
My heart's in the ghetto.
My heart's in the ghetto.
It's true.
Maude.
I do live in the suburbs, but my heart is in the ghetto.
Yes. I think it's about at that point that Arthur
but I mean,
and Vivian
also,
came
you
in.
know, yes, at that point, Vivian comes in with Arthur. And Vivian's complaining. I was trying to do my hair. My hair is a mess. My hair is a disaster.
Maude says,
yes, well, it matches your dress.
matches your dress.
What a great friend.
I know.
Everyone should have a friend like Maude.
You do.
Yeah!
It's me.
And you also have a friend like Maude. It's me.
It's you.
So I think at that point,
and Maude is like, you remember Francie, and Arthur's like, oh, he's saying, oh yes, I remember, you know,
her passion project.
Yes.
Her going over race relations.
Yes, and he pointed out that
Maude's still white.
She's still white.
Very interesting choice of words from both Maude and Arthur, because again, that's what Norman Lear did. He showed you both sides of the coin.
And Vivian comments about Walter's suspenders being on the roof.
And the look
on Walter's face.
The look on Walter's face.
Yeah.
Oh my, that was too funny. It was way too funny.
So I think that's when Maude brings Francie into the kitchen for a little private talk.
One-on-one.
Yes. And that's when they sit down.
Yep.
And Francie starts telling her this lie that her father has been beating her.
Yep.
And she like pulls up her sleeve.
And it's all bandaged.
Bandages.
And, you know, she's really playing on
Yes.
Maude's guilt.
Yes.
Which
makes sense. She tells her, you know, she's running away, and Maude was like, but what about your mother? And she's like,
she's 53. She's too slow.
She's too slow.
That was funny. That was fun. I mean, just great dialogue.
It was funny. And I think Walter comes
at that point. Walter
comes
into the kitchen,
too.
and he's like, "Maude, they're here. Like, we gotta go. Like, what's going on?"
Right. And then she explains to him that Francie's father is beating her, and Walter's like, why would he be beating her?
And Maude turns to Francie and says, "That poor misguided honky."
Yes. And now Maude points out that Francie is suffering from battered child syndrome.
She read about it in McCall's.
Yes, in McCall's.
On the back of a
recipe.
A recipe for 1,000 ways to disguise elbow macaroni.
Yes. I probably know about as many ways to cook elbow macaroni myself.
Yes, you do.
I love elbow macaroni.
I do too.
I do love it.
I mean, I'm a sucker for pasta in general.
Yes. I could eat pasta every day.
Same.
And almost do.
Yep.
Arthur pops his head in, telling them, they're going to be late. And
a baseball bat to stun the roaches.
Yes.
That's why they're such good hitters.
Yes.
I guess the Roaches were a baseball team?
No. Oh, no, I don't think so.
I honestly didn't get the joke.
They were talking about literal roaches.
But why are they such good hitters?
I don't know.
That's why I'm like, maybe there was a baseball team.
I've never heard of a baseball team called the Roaches. We'll have to.
Unless it's such good hitters, Roaches.
No, I don't think they would have been joking about marijuana.
I mean, they did a whole episode on it.
But they never call it roaches. I mean, I don't think people would have known.
It got the joke got a laugh though.
I don't know. We'll have to find out.
We'll have to look that up. Such good hitters.
So yeah. So what happened was Francie. That was all part of Francie explaining what happened. That her father came home drunk.
Yep.
And he hit her. Like he turned the lights on.
And he saw her, and that's why he hit her.
And that's why he hit her. And Walter, he's telling Maude that there's no evidence like that. Her father really hit her.
Yep.
I think that's about when Arthur and Vivian.
They have a bit. Arthur and Walter have a bit.
Arthur and Walter, yes.
Vivian leaves, and
Right.
Arthur initially leaves, and then he's saying 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes, and then we're gonna leave.
And then we're gonna leave.
And then Arthur comes back in saying, "I'm sorry, Walter. You must think I'm a terrible person for arguing with you the way that I am. I'll just take the tickets that you have."
Yes.
And then he takes the tickets, and then Walter begrudgingly gives him the tickets, sure thing, pal. Yeah. And it was just pal, buddy, a chap. Just very hokey.
Arthur's like, we'll just go now. And
exit, enter, exit, entrance.
And with the last one, he comes back and he's like, you know what? We're just gonna go now.
We're just gonna leave. You take all the time you need.
Like he's,
being such a gracious
being magnanimous.
Person. Being magnanimous.
Meanwhile, he's taking the tickets that were Walter's tickets.
Yeah.
Arthur and Vivian were just their guests.
Yes.
And he's taking the tickets and just leaving them.
And as they leave, Maude comes out saying, "Give my regards to Broadway." Which, by the way, anecdotal, "Give my regards to Broadway" was one of Tallulah Bankhead's standards.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She would always perform that. It was like, you can literally look up Tallulah Bankhead, "Give my regards to Broadway." That's interesting because Maude understudied for Tallulah Bankhead when they toured.
B. Arthur did.
Yes, B. Arthur. I'm sorry. Yes, B. Arthur toured with Tallulah Bankhead, and she was her understudy, I think, for Follies.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure it was for Follies. So yes, anecdotal.
Yes.
And
so now they go back to dealing with Francie.
Yep.
And Francie's telling them that she needs $300.
Yep. And again, one of the things that I love is Maude is repeating, and this is something that I do myself. Maude is repeating everything that Francie's saying. Francie will say something, Maude will repeat it. Francie will say something, Maude will repeat it. And then when Francie finally says $300, Maude's like, "And she needs $300." $300?
Yes. Because she's planning to run away to California.
Yep.
And start a new life, and she's going to be staying with a grown up there.
Yep.
And Maude's like, "Francie, you're only 16 and
going on 17."
Yes, always has to throw that in.
Yep.
And Francie's just like, I can't go back home, and Maude is like, "Oh, she's all grown up now. To think she was
just a
baby."
And Walter's like, "Maude, you've only known her 3 months." And Maude shoots back, "How'd you like to hold your breath for that long?"
And Maude is like, "We'll help." And Walter is like, "No.
No, absolutely not." So Walter at that point goes into the kitchen. Goes into the living room to the phone on that little desk thing.
Yes, and he calls Mr. Potter. And he tells him, "Mr. Potter, your daughter is here." And Maude grabs the phone, and she
calls him a beast.
Yes, she's that he's a drunken beast. He's not going to be hitting his daughter anymore, and and she hangs up on him.
And she says, "His breath reeks of liquor even through the phone."
Yeah, and she says, "We're giving her the money."
We're giving her the money, and by the time we can still catch one of Johnny Carson's ex-wives.
Right. So they tell Francie they're in the kitchen, and Maude tells her, just sit and wait. We'll be back after the theater. Walter was like, "Well, I don't have $300 on me," and Maude is like,
Maude's like, "Well, between me, you, Vivian, Arthur always carries cash on him."
We'll have the $300. They tell Francie, we're gonna go to the theater. You stay here, and when we come back, we'll give you the $300.
Yes.
And they go out the
back
kitchen.
door. They go out the back
door of the kitchen. That's when Francie runs to the front door.
And allows Hinckley into the house.
Hinckley in. And she's telling him they're giving us the money. They left us the house
to ourselves. And then they start making out. And then we cut back to the kitchen.
The kitchen. Maude and Walter come back in. I don't remember what was the reason that they
Fourth time that the battery has been killed because Maude left the headlights on.
Okay, yes. I've been known to do that myself.
Maude left the headlights
on. And they
but
hear...
I mean, I hate that is such a trope. Or that was such a trope years ago, that women were just awful drivers.
Oh, yeah.
Such a trope. I remember there was something, I was scrolling on Tumblr, because that's still a thing, kids. And there was this one blog that I follow that like posts old cartoons, like old cartoons from like the 40s and 50s.
Right.
And there was one where it was this wife that was doing all of these things, and there was a bit where she was driving her car and then she parallel parks. But as she parallel parks, she hits the car behind her and then the car in front of her and then the car behind her and then the car in front of her again before she finally parks. And I'm like, that's so bad. It's just so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, awful.
Statistically speaking,
no.
The worst drivers are young white males.
Yes. With good reason. They're terrible drivers.
Yeah,
there are times I'm driving on the highway and I turn and I see this beautiful Mustang and I see a 2-year-old driving it.
Yeah. The other thing that bothers me.
Uh-oh.
Okay. I don't know how it is in other states. But Long Island,
yes,
motorcycle drivers are like the worst
they're terrible
drivers. That a motorcyclist is supposed to treat their vehicle as if it were a car and maintain like a space, on both sides and in front and behind as if they were a car. Because they're not supposed to weave in and out of lanes, in and out of cars.
And drive on that dotted line.
Yeah. And I see them doing it all the time. And that's also
a hazard.
How they get killed.
There was anecdotal again. Me and my family were driving in the family van. Like, this was when I was much younger and shorter.
Did you have sing-alongs?
No. No, my family was not a sing-along type.
Sing-along type. That's sad.
And we were driving, I think, on the southern state, either the southern state or the SAG. And there were these motorbikers, and they were motocross bikes. Like they were like dirt. I don't know if they were called like dirt bikes or just motocross bikes.
Right.
And I remember seeing out of one of the mirrors the bicyclist being like he was in the air. He was airborne.
Geez, yeah.
And we just kept it moving. But I remember specifically seeing a bicyclist go from driving to being shot in the air.
Wow.
And I don't know what happened. Obviously, after that, it was just it was a wrap.
Wow.
But I just remember seeing that, and I'm like, and this is why I don't want to drive a motorcycle.
Yeah. No.
But I will drive one of those trikes.
Oh, you will?
I will drive a trike.
They're not really supposed to be on the road, right? No. They're on like it's an all-terrain vehicle, right? An ATV.
Not an ATV. It's literally one wheel in the front and 2 wheels in the back.
Oh, okay.
And it's like almost like I don't know what you would consider it. I know they're not street legal. I'm pretty sure they're not street legal.
Didn't just recently I saw on the news, like in the city, they like bulldozed.
I can believe that.
They bulldozed a lot that they confiscated.
Yep, I can believe that.
Because people were driving them on city streets.
Yep,
and you're not allowed. So when they catch you doing that, they take the vehicle and they showed. I saw it on the news. They had a bulldozer, and they bulldozed those vehicles. Which,
all that money.
I know that doesn't really make any sense to me. Why not?
It doesn't.
Why not auction them off?
But who are you going to auction them to, and who are you going to sell them to?
Well, they could auction them off in another part of the country
that allows them. True.
Someplace meaningless to us, like Oregon, South Dakota,
Kentucky,
places like that,
Mississippi.
Yes, those states that they're meaningless to us.
Open carry states.
Of course, anybody listening to this in those states will never listen to us again, but we digress.
Do we, though?
So, Maude and Walter, they come in the kitchen, and they hear, California, here we come.
Yep.
Coming out from the living room, and they're like...
Maude looks quizzically at everything.
Yes.
And, they start making out, and they being Francie and Hinckley. And Maude enters into the living room and sees the two of them and it just screams, Francie!
Yes. And Maude's like, you know, how could you lie to me?
Yep.
Because now she's realizing, you know, something's up. This whole thing has been a scam.
Yep. I think before they cut to commercial, Maude, I think, says, this is the adult you're going to be living with in California.
Right.
And Hinckley is obviously not much older than Francie.
Yeah. So
we can assume that he is either like 18, 19, possibly 20.
Yes. A little older. Not a lot, but
not
a
a lot,
older.
but a little older.
A little older.
But still, you know, could be considered a crime in certain states.
Yes. And so when we got back from the break, that's when, you know, the interrogation begins.
Yes.
And what do I have? I have something about Walter telling Maude they were going to shack up. And Maude is like, Walter, not in front of the children.
And, you know, we come to find out that
Francie... And Hinckley's like, you've got the wrong impression.
Yeah.
And Francie, he's like, you know what I'm saying? We're going to get married.
Now, I didn't want to mention this as we just literally passed over it, but at the same time, if we are to assume that Hinckley is in his 20s...
Yeah.
And we can almost deduce that Hinckley has been grooming Francie. Because, you know, that is something that I have been noticing a lot more of, specifically in my community. The cosplay community is what I'm talking about. Obviously talking about. Listen to me. I sound so pretentious. But that is a thing where, like, older men will try and persuade younger women to being with them in a specific way. I think there was actually... I remember reading on Facebook there was some president of some country where he waited until his new wife turned 18 so that way the two of them can get married.
Oh, jeez.
And I forget if it was either a president of a country or if it was someone in the United States that was waiting until this child became 18.
Look at Elvis Presley and
Presley and Priscilla, yeah.
Jerry Lee Lewis married his 13-year-old cousin.
Yep.
I mean, this is something...
Not Andy Warhol. What's the other one's name? Not Woody Harrelson. Woody Allen. Woody Allen married his Mia Farrow's adopted daughter.
Yes, he never... I mean, he says he never considered her like a stepdaughter, you know.
It's uncomfortable regardless. It's uncomfortable regardless.
You know, I mean, yeah, I don't know. But obviously, you know, this has been a long-standing thing with older men wanting younger women.
Yep.
And
but apparently if an older woman wants a younger man, she's obviously labeled a cougar.
A cougar, yes. Yes, it's the double standard.
We love that double standard.
Love
that double standard so much.
The double standard.
So much.
So, but, you know, I mean, we've all seen, like, the things on Facebook with, like, you know, when the new iPhone is going to come out and you see, like, this young twink with a much older guy.
Yeah, with a much older guy. Daddy, could you please get me the new iPhone?
Yes. I mean, you know, it does sort of like, I mean, obviously not with children, but with, you know, somebody who is very young, but an adult, let's say over the age, you know, at least the age of 21.
Over the age of consenting.
At least the age of 21. We've seen that, someone of that age, like, you know, with much older partners.
Yeah.
And because they want the financial security.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's something I've seen.
Oh, I've definitely seen that. Especially, you know, nowadays with, you know, 20-somethings and 30-somethings realizing just how effed in the A they are over their finances.
Yeah.
Hi, present company included. Trust me, if it wasn't for my family, I would be severely screwed.
Well, you can always stay in my shed.
Thanks. Really appreciate that. Nothing fills me with more joy than to be told, oh, you can stay in my shed. Thank you. Graciously, thank you.
Anytime, pussycat.
But I mean, like, this is a reality for some 20 and 30-somethings where they just can't afford rent.
Yeah, no.
There are some, I remember reading recently in Manhattan or, like, in Brooklyn, there was this $3,300 a month apartment.
How small?
The size of this room.
This room, yeah.
The size of the room that we are in right now.
Ridiculous.
Probably like 9 by what? 9 by 8?
Yeah.
Just insane.
That's ridiculous.
Insane.
Ridiculous.
So it stands to reason that there are that there are a growing number of May-December relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yep. Not that
we are not against them. We are not for them.
If two people are
indifferent.
Two people are of legal age.
Yes.
Nobody has any right to say anything about it.
Nope.
Okay. If one person is of legal age and the other is not,
yep,
we take issue.
Yes, especially
and so does the law.
Especially if grooming is involved, and
in the law, yeah.
When I say grooming, I mean like someone is obviously waiting for this younger person to become of age, and they're just like saying, "Oh, you're beautiful. Oh, you're this, you're that. When we're together, it's going to be beautiful. When you're of age, like we're going to be able to do all these things that we've promised to each other."
Yeah, and I think in a lot of those cases, there may be things going on. And that there really shouldn't.
There should not be.
Yeah. Anyway, we digress as always. So Maude, now she hears the word married,
and she immediately.
She becomes married. Oh, how romantic!
I was 17 when I first got married, and I think Maude points out that what are you going to do about money?
Right, when the money runs out.
When the landlord comes to the door, love goes out the window. And she says, or is it the other way around? So, Maude continues to say, I was 17 when I got married, and it was the first time But, does that mean that she got married to Barney at 17?
It would have to be.
I guess she got married to Barney at 17. Yes.
And she said they honeymooned at some lake in the back of a pickup truck.
Yep.
And Walter, that's what he points out. Francie's trying to point out, she only wants to do what Maude did.
Yep.
And Walter is like, yeah, but she was making a career out of it. That's when we get to one of the best scenes in the show.
And Maude points to the ceiling, obviously pointing to God. And just has this grimace on her face, just this severe look of anger, and points directly at Walter.
Yeah, God is gonna get you, Walter. She doesn't have to say it.
Doesn't even have to say it.
She just points to God and to Walter.
Points to God and points to Walter.
Yes. And Maude is like, but you don't have any plans, and that's when Francie and Hinckley start telling her that Maude and Walter about their big plans.
Big plan to go to Hollywood and enter Motown.
They're going to record for Motown. They're going to make some real money.
Yep.
And they know it won't happen overnight. It may take maybe 2-3 weeks.
Yes. That's how long it took me to become an overnight success.
Of course. And that's when they got into a really funny bit.
Where they started performing.
Yes, because they're like, are you musicians? And Francie's like, yeah, we're in a rock band. What were their names? The
electric shortcakes. And then Walter says, more like electric fruitcakes.
Yes. And so that's when they decide they're going to do their act for them, and they go over by the bar, and apparently Hinckley is the world's only rock and roll spoon player.
The first time I ever learned you could use spoons as an instrument was in music class in grade school.
Uh-huh.
And I remember we were given these plastic spoons from the lunchroom, and we were just like, oh, how interesting. Oh. How cute is that? What a great way to make music. So when I saw that, I was just like, wow, this is bad.
You were just like Anna Kendrick from Pitch Perfect.
Thanks.
And
yes, thank you. Nothing fills me with greater joy.
I'm sure.
Although hilariously enough, Anna Kendrick she performed in a movie musical called Camp.
Camp. I love that movie.
It was called Camp, and she performed The Ladies Who Lunch.
Yes. Funny story.
Uh-oh.
My husband's uncle.
Okay.
On his mother's side, he was married to Frank's mother's sister.
Okay.
So he wasn't he's not direct blood, but he was married to
family through marriage. Family through marriage.
And his brother,
yes,
is Ben Lanzarone.
Oh.
Who is married to Eileen Graff.
Yes.
From Mr. Belvedere.
Yes.
Show. Eileen's brother is Todd Graff, who wrote and directed Camp.
Yes.
And you know, when I was doing the Talking Tony show, I had
Todd on the show.
On the show, yes.
Oh, that must have been fun.
It was. It was a lot of fun. You know, because I was telling Todd that, you know, Camp was. It's like one of my favorite movies.
It was honestly one of my favorite movies too.
I love that movie.
I had such a crush on the lead actor. Mm-hmm. Such a crush on Daniel Luttrell.
Mm. Yes. Oh, when he sings Wild Horses.
I didn't like Wild Horses. I liked the final scene where he stripped naked and was coming out of the water and says that he was skinny dipping. Uh-huh. And he was trying to seduce the little Latin boy in drag.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, I remember watching that scene and I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely gay. definitely there. Yep.
Oh, honey, you came out of the womb doing jazz hands. Who are we kidding?
I came out of the womb with a fucking shell necklace and tentacles and sang Poor Unfortunate Souls. That's where I'm at, okay? Okay? I apologize for swearing. Literally. I remember asking my mother, who was my favorite Disney character? Who was my favorite Disney character? Was it any of the original 5, like Donald, Mickey, Goofy, Pluto? And she goes, Tom, your favorite Disney character was Ursula. I'm like, okay. Yep. Okay. Yep. So I have always been a drag queen, apparently.
See, mine was the Wicked Queen from Snow White.
Yes!
You know.
Yup.
She was my favorite.
Yup. With all good reason.
Yes.
All good reason.
There's actually, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Annie Hall by Woody Allen.
No, I have not seen Annie Hall.
But there's like a funny little animated scene in it because Woody Allen he was saying how, like, when he was a kid, the Wicked Queen was his favorite character. Yes. And there's this little scene with him, an animated him and the Wicked Queen.
Yes.
And they have some dialogue back and forth. And you know, at one point he says to her, because she's being kind of bitchy, he's like, "Are you having a period?"
Oh my God. You gotta love it.
I mean, Woody Allen. I mean, he's problematic, but Annie Hall really is one of the best movies ever made. It really is.
It is. From what I've heard, it's a good movie. It's just unfortunate that you know. I mean, same thing with Jackson Pollock. Like he was problematic AF, but he still made gorgeous paintings.
Yes. It's like there's this one scene in Annie Hall. When Woody Allen goes to meet Diane Keaton's family for the first time. And they're like, he's so New York, so Jewishy. And they're all like, middle class, white, waspy Protestant America. And like, they show like the grandmother staring at him. And then they show you like what she's looking at, when she sees him, she sees like a Hasidic Jew with the hat and the payas and the coat and everything, and it was like,
oh my God,
yeah, it's really funny.
We love that journey for him.
Yes.
Anecdotal again, the Wicked Queen was based off of Walt's mother. Was based on Walt Disney's mother, as well as Joan Crawford.
I believe it.
Yep.
I have no problem believing that.
Let me tell you something. Every single Disney villainess was based off of some type of fabulous character. Maleficent was based off of Vampira. Oh. Ursula was based off of Divine. And Gloria Swanson.
Yes. The one that I think they actually used Eartha Kitt's voice.
Yzma.
Yes.
Yzma in the Emperor's New Groove.
Emperor's New Groove, yes.
Still, I mean, one of the funniest Disney movies. If you ever have an opportunity to read the story about how the Emperor's New Groove was created, it's astonishing.
Really?
It was supposed to be this like beautiful like Disney animated epic about the sun god, and then somewhere along the lines it was like, nope. We're gonna turn this into a comedy.
Yeah.
So it went from being like this beautiful, like Disney musical, like in the style of Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid, and then it just became slapstick. So you have to read it. It's very interesting and very, very Hollywood, like a very Hollywood story. I think Owen Wilson. Yes. Owen Wilson was supposed to play the lead character Kuzco, and then they cast David Spade. They put David Spade in that part. It's so interesting. It's just so fascinating. Any hoozle.
Anyway, so Hinckley and Francie, a.k.a. Electric
Shortcakes,
decide to do a performance.
A rendition of Yankee Doodle Went
Dandy.
to Town.
Yes.
Riding on a pony.
Yes.
And just,
yes.
Maude's really getting into it, and
Yeah.
Walter is, his expression just continues to sour.
And so Walter finally, he does a whistle, and he's like, hold it! And Maude's like, did you hear that? She's like, I like it.
I like him.
Yeah, I like
She has this big smile on her face, and, Walter's like, what are you guys gonna do? You're just gonna go to...
He says, has anyone ever heard you play? And,
and Hinckley's like, no, we're total unknowns.
Total unknowns.
Walter immediately turns to Maude and says, can I see you in the kitchen, please?
Yes. So they walk into the... As soon as they walk through the kitchen door,
Maude is at first saying, yeah, I can do it. Tweet. And then they both walk into the... And Maude immediately says...
She steps over the threshold.
Wow, they're really rotten. Those kids are really rotten.
But she says, but what do we know? Look at Frankie Lane and
the Mormon Tabernacle. The closest thing we have to rock and roll is the Mormon Tabernacle Choir.
Yes. But
and she mentions Mule Train.
Yes, because she's pointing out, well, what do they really know about
what do they know about
today's
rock
pop
music?
So maybe. And Walter's like, they're living in a fantasy. He's like, I'm not giving them a nickel.
Yep. And Francie, she says she's too short to play center for the Harlem Globetrotters.
Right. And so they end up going back out. Maude's saying that she's going to give the money, and Walter's
they have an argument about their marriage. Walter's like, I forbid you to give her the $400.
And they're back to Maude is yelling Walter is yelling Maude, and
Hinckley and Francie are turning to... Hinckley turns to Francie and goes, do they always argue like this? And Francie's like, yeah, it sure is neat, ain't it?
Yeah. Walter's threatening to call the cops, and that's when we hear the doorbell.
Yes. We hear the doorbell.
And who's at the door? Francie's father.
Mr. Potter.
Yes.
And he is a Hulk of a man.
Yeah, actually, I think we, I think we hear, I think Maude, didn't open the door. She was saying, who is it? And that's what he was like.
She ended up saying something to the effect of, she said something to the effect of, I'm not going to let that beast, that ogre, that alcoholic, maim this poor child.
Right.
And she opens the door, and it's obviously Mr. Potter, and he goes, I'm Mr. Potter. And Maude's like, well, then you heard what I said. Have a good day, and slams the door in his face.
And that's when Hinckley, he hides.
Hinckley says, I'm going to hide in the kitchen till cooler heads prevail.
Yeah. And Walter ends up letting Mr. Potter in.
Yep.
And
they have this moment where Maude is calling him names, calling him a drunken sot.
Yes.
And
she's
Maude is like, why don't you pick on someone your own size? And Walter says, Maude, no one is his size.
No one is his size.
Because this man is standing about a good foot above Maude.
Walter. Yes, and Maude is calling him a coward. And she's like, why don't you hit me? I dare you to do it. With my husband standing right there.
And she's laughing.
Yeah, and Walter's like, Maude, please. This guy can crush him.
Yes, this man is a Hulk of a human being.
Yes, and that's what Maude tells him. Why don't you pick on someone your own size? And that's when Walter
says, Maude, no one is
his size. And she tells him that he's a drunken child beater, and his days are over. And finally, I think he just yells.
He just screams, "Woman, will you shut up?" And he barks.
Yes.
And I think that's the first time I've ever seen Maude shirk back.
Mm-hmm. And
Maude's like, "Walter, are you going to let that man talk to me that way?"
And Mr. Potter says, he's telling him, I don't drink. He says, I have an ulcer.
Have you ever heard of anybody getting drunk on Maalox?
Maalox. And that's when, it all comes out that Francie made up the whole story about her father hitting her.
And she said Francie says the truth wasn't worth $300.
Yes. And, and Maude's like,
Maude is offended. She's like, I fought with my husband.
Yeah.
And Francie's like, but you guys do that all the time.
All the time.
Maude says, that's not the point.
And Francie's apologizing for lying, but really it was Hinckley kind of pressured her into doing it,
which is what all older men do. They will pressure the younger, naive, I guess we can say, girl into a specific situation that they are very uncomfortable with. So Walter goes into the kitchen,
and looks back
and says that Hinckley
is gone.
Hinckley hightails it.
Yes.
And
and Francie's like, she looks and then she sees he's really gone, and she's like,
maybe I am the ding-a-ling.
Yeah,
because that's what Maude calls her. Maude calls her a ding-a-ling.
Yeah.
And at that point, Maude turns to Mr. Potter and says, "Do you mind if I have a moment with Francie? Girl talk."
Girl talk. So he goes out the front door.
Francie races over to her father and gives him a big hug and says, "I'm so sorry."
I'm sorry. Yeah.
And he, because obviously, like the man points out, I love my daughter. Why would I beat my daughter?
Right. Yeah.
So he leaves, and Francie and Maude are left to have their girl talk.
And Maude has a little talk with Francie about the Hinkleys in our lives.
Yep.
That,
they're all stinkers.
They're stinkers.
They're all called stinkers.
They hurt us.
And Maude says, if ever, there is the real possibility that Hinckley will come back and Francie will take him back within a moment's notice. But Maude was saying, if that ever happens, come and talk it over with me first.
Right.
It was a very touching moment between the two of them.
Right.
And I think at that point, Francie gives her a hug and goes to the door and smiles sweetly and says, "That's show business."
That's show business, yeah.
And walks out the door.
Yeah.
And Walter comes back in, and Maude is they're having a bit of a sentimental moment.
And he's like, well, I hope you learned your lesson. And Maude says, she's still lying. All Hinckley has to do is just rattle his spoons, and she'll go running back to him.
Yep.
And that's when Walter points out that he took all their spoons.
He took all the spoons. Took every damn spoon in the kitchen.
He took all their spoons.
Maude turns to Walter and goes, "Oh, that's show business." And then the two of them hug, and then that's when the episode ends.
Yes. So it was a funny episode.
It was a good episode. I enjoyed it. I really did. I remember watching it the first time, and I was like, it's not that great. And then, of course, you watch it a number of times over. And, that's something that I always enjoyed about media, even when it comes to reading. Always give it another look, especially after a number of months or years have passed.
True. Sometimes something just has to grow on you a little.
Yes.
I don't think Philip's problem will grow on us.
I think Philip's problem is one of those episodes that'll just stay dead.
Yeah, I mean,
one of those episodes.
It was that's one that I don't feel any need to have to rewatch.
I mean, I appreciate the episode for what it was trying to accomplish in the time it was written. Because, I mean, at that point, corporal punishment was definitely, a thing to be addressed.
Right.
Nowadays, with, the advent of CPS and even EPS, it's a different way of viewing it.
Right.
You're essentially seeing a child being abused on television.
Yeah. And it's funny that they had these two episodes back to back, because really both episodes were about corporal punishment.
In a different way.
Yes, two different views.
One was used as a ruse, and the other one was used as an actual form of discipline.
Yes.
So it's very interesting to see the dichotomy of those two episodes.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting to see Norman Lear's interpretation and the way that Norman Lear wrote it, and the way that Alan Levitt wrote it, and the way that Bud Grossman wrote it, and then the way it was performed by Bill, Tamu, and hell, even Vivian and Arthur. They were Rue and Conrad. They both did their part in the episode.
Yes. Yeah. So I think it was a good episode to close the season with.
Yes, very good season closer.
It was very entertaining.
Very good season closer.
And I'm sorry to know that we don't ever see Francie again.
We don't.
On Maude.
We really don't. It's actually it's very sad. Because she was honestly a good character.
Yeah,
she was a good character.
Yes.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that Tamu Blackwell also was on a number of episodes with Good Times. I need to find out how many episodes she was actually on Good Times. As a matter of fact, hold on.
Look it up.
I'm going to look that up because we have the time. We have the time.
Yes, we actually went in our first episode. We had looked it up, and we saw like a bunch of things that she had done. I think actually she ended up becoming like
she became a director. She became an assistant, and then she became a director.
Director herself.
And producer, I think. Assistant director.
I know we saw things she did. She was like assistant director.
She was on one episode of The Jeffersons.
Okay.
She was on one episode of Good Times, one episode of Mary Tyler Moore.
Yeah.
And 2 episodes of Maude.
Yeah. She was never really a regular on anything, but I give her credit. She was always memorable.
Very memorable.
Very
did. Memorable.
Like Hank, the actor who played Hinckley. I don't know if he did anything else. I don't recognize him.
I mean, not that
from anything.
I don't even recognize Mr. Potter from anything, unless he was like a football player.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because he was a beast of a human being.
Yes.
Like he was probably about my height.
At least.
Probably about my height.
If not bigger.
If not bigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was a very good character, and she will be remembered as such. Mm-hmm. She will be remembered as a well-written, fleshed-out character, and again, a very fleshed-out character.
Yes.
Like we knew her story backwards and forwards.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then there's Maude.
So that's it for this.
That's it for this episode, kids.
Yes, I know.
Yes.
And that's the end of season 2.
Season 2, yes. Congratulations.
Another season.
Another season in the can.
And so next episode we will begin season 3.
Yep. And that episode is called Maude Meets the Duke.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get to that next week.
Next week.
If you would like to follow us, you can on all forms of social media. You can on YouTube at God Will Get You For That Walter, on Facebook at God Will Get You For That Walter, and on Instagram at Findlays Friendly Appliances. If you would like to follow me, you can on all forms of social media as That Tomcat. And you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, everywhere. I'm all over like dog do.
Everywhere.
And where can they find you?
They can find Toni Homeperm, and that's Toni
with an I.
With an I.
Toni with an I.
Pretty much everywhere, same places. It's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and especially TikTok. I'm doing very well there.
You're doing very well on the TikTok.
I'm down with the hip kids on TikTok. I'm getting jiggy with it.
I'm done with you.
I'm getting jiggy with
it.
TikTok.
You're no longer a part of the broken hip crowd. I'm so proud of you. So proud of you.
Thank you, Pussycat.
You're very welcome. We thank you for listening, and you will hear us again on another episode of God Will Get You For That Walter. Good night, guys.
Bye-bye.